Nancy, are you there?
And then I just want to give a quick warning. So I just noticed on my computer, it has this thing that popped up that said 104-degree warning. So I just put a fan onto it. But if I leave, that means my computer died and I might be a few minutes and someone can just take over. Okay. I live in an unair-conditioned house and we have a one-room thing and it needs to go into the kids' room so they can sleep tonight. So hopefully my computer doesn't get too hot. Are we ready to start, everybody? Yeah. Okay. Interpreters, you gonna make your announcement?
Yeah, I'll do it right now. All right. Good evening. My colleague Monica and I will be the interpreters for this meeting. I will also repeat this introduction in Spanish. The Zoom interpretation feature will be used in the Zoom meeting for English and Spanish support. All participants on this call must select the language of preference by clicking the language when the host turns on the interpretation feature. This will happen momentarily. This is found in the world icon located on your feature panel. Interpretation for this meeting will be conducted simultaneously. Thank you for your attention and collaboration. Buenas noches, mi colega Mónica y yo somos los intérpretes asignados para esta junta. Se utilizará la función de interpretación de Zoom para soporte en inglés y español. Todos los participantes de esta llamada deben seleccionar su idioma de preferencia haciendo clic en el idioma correspondiente cuando el anfitrión active la función de interpretación. Dicha función se encuentra en el panel de herramientas en el icono del globo terráqueo. El modo de interpretación para esta reunión será el simultáneo. Gracias por su atención y colaboración.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 7:04, and I see all board members are present. We're on to item 2, approval of tonight's agenda. Board, is there a motion?
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second that.
If there's any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature. And not seeing any board, any comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. And are you guys able to hear me okay with my fan? Okay. We are now on to item 3, comments from the board and superintendent. And Isabel, Jeff, then Nancy, and then Bridget, and you can go ahead and just, maybe when you're done, say that you're done so the next person knows they can get started. Isabel?
Sure. Since the last meeting, there was a Citizen Bond Oversight Committee. There were some CSBA meetings and food delivery for the students, from food harvest to the students in the district. And
the report today.
I wanted to acknowledge all the hard work that everyone has done that has brought us towards the end of the year. And I appreciate board members and staff being there to share in those community-wide celebrations for those who have been promoted and transitioned to new grades. I wanted to let you know that I may be leaving the meeting early tonight because I am in Florida and the hours are not conducive to an activity that I need to do early tomorrow morning. I will further my remarks of my activities. I'll go ahead and send those in. So thank you very much.
Okay, I sent in my activities, so they'll be in the minutes, but I did want to say with the Santa Clara County School Boards Association, there are a couple little bits of news. The first one is basically for the Santa Clara County County Board of Education Kathleen King has resigned, and so that means that the county school board seat 2, which covers Cumberland, Cherry Chase, Ellis, and some of SMS, and then like Cupertino and a whole other big area. So just a small bit of Sunnyvale. They're going to start the appointment process soon. So we have 2 county board members in our district, Grace Ma, and we had Kathleen King. So we're going to be getting a new one in August. And then the second thing is in Superintendent Dewan's presentation today, she spent a lot of time talking about preschool and daycare closures around the county. Just hundreds and hundreds of businesses who their business was early learning have permanently closed. And I think there were something like in March, it was something around 400. Now it's well over 500 permanently closed. And then similarly with those similar types of schools that we're talking about temporarily closing, but she was saying it's very difficult for them to reopen after they've temporarily closed. So the county was really trying to make us aware of the childcare and early learning shortages in the county. And I remembered that right before the schools closed for the pandemic, the County Office of Education had done their facilities inventory, and they had notified us that in the 94087 zip code, that about 300 children were eligible at that time for federally subsidized preschool, and they would really like to partner with our district to set up something for children in this area. And she said that they were actually going to redo their survey and update their information because she thinks probably in Sunnyvale they would need more. So they'd love to work with us on it. Anyway, that was kind of a big news and a big shock to everybody because, you know, it affects our middle school students. Sometimes they end up being the caretakers when they get home. It limits their activities and other stuff. So, and then the other thing is she wanted anyone who wasn't at that meeting, who's a board member, to sign up for the July 1st budget review, which is going to be on Zoom from the County Office of Education, unless the education part of the budget isn't ready. So that was all I have from there. Thanks.
Thanks, Bridget and everybody. Just 2 things. One, I attended that same bond oversight committee as Isabel, and I think it's going to be mentioned a little bit later on, but a lot of people on that committee are terming out, and so I just want to say a huge thank you. We appreciate their time and their good questions, and so I just wanted to appreciate all of those who are terming out. And then just wanted to share, I guess personal note and also board, right? I had 8th grader promotion and 5th grader promotion. So it's fun that, but then changing times. And then also for my 8th grader, I got to be the one on the stand. So that was fun to be able to do that with his little sling the day before his surgery. And his surgery went well. He is now sick of the fact that he can do nothing though. So the last few days have been a little rough for him. So that's all that I have. Dr. Gallagher.
Thank you. So a couple things. First of all, I appreciate your comments about childcare, Bridget, and looking in South Sunnyvale. You may remember that in North Sunnyvale over at Lakewood, the YMCA actually chose to leave their operation at Lakewood, which they've operated for years. And through the hard work of Rob, primarily, we now have a new contract with Catalyst, which has been a long time partner in the district. So that's really exciting that we can do that. It's a different operator, and it's going to take a little bit of adjustment out in that community with some different structures, but at least we have someone there. So that's exciting. And that's actually on the consent calendar today, that contract. I'd like to also acknowledge that the federal government identified, I think it's Saturday, as Juneteenth, And then that would be a day that would be celebrated the day before. So that's like immediately. So that's tomorrow. We are not closing any operations tomorrow. That's just too soon to do that. But we have been consulting with council about how to handle that and how to properly probably compensate our employees who are working. There aren't actually that many classified employees working tomorrow relative to our overall operation, but we'll be recognizing that federal holiday. And then now that we have a runway of a year and a day, next year we'll do this better. So all across the country, everyone's scrambling. And now 2 other really exciting announcements. The city of Sunnyvale has announced the recipients of its community awards. And the first one is Educator of the Year. And I'm really excited to announce that Julio Delgado will be recognized as the Educator of the Year. So Julio was our Teacher of the Year from Vargas. I could go on and on about Julio, about how excited I am that he was selected, and to be honored as the Employee of the Year is even greater. And then they have another award for Business of the Year. And we were nominated by Sunnyvale Community Services, and Sunnyvale School District will be recognized as the Business of the Year for the city of Sunnyvale this next year, which is really, really exciting. So this will be on October 9th during the State of the City, and it's going to be at Sunnyvale Heritage Park from 9 to noon. So we've got a lot of runway before that, but that's super exciting. First for Julio, and then for our school district, just in recognition of all the hard work that everyone in our organization did this past year. So, and what a great honor from our partner, Sunnyvale Community Services, in recognition of what we did. So those are all my announcements.
Thank you, Mike. We are now on to item 4, comments from the Sunnyvale Education Association. If there's an official representative from that organization, use the raise hand feature. And I don't think, Aaliyah, are you seeing anybody?
I am not.
All right. I know our attendance is lower tonight. I think summertime.
Definitely.
We are on to item 5, comments from the California School Employees Association. If there's an official representative, you can use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Aaliyah, are you?
No.
All right, thank you. We are now on to comments from the public. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any item of interest to the public. However, provisions of the Brown Act preclude any action being taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. Time limits allocated to public testimony are 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes for this time slot. Speakers are asked to give their name and affiliation so that an accurate record is reflected in the minutes. And as a reminder, there will be time to speak on agendized items as we get to those items. So this is for items not on the agenda. So if there's any members of the public who wish to speak, please use the raise hand feature now. All right, I'm not seeing any. Aaliyah?
Nope, me neither.
All right, thank you. We are now on to the presentation, 7A, the Citizen Bonds Oversight Committee Annual Report and Member Recognition. I think we're turning over to Rob, and then we get to hear from Charlie. Welcome, Charlie. Go ahead, Rob.
Hello, good evening, board, community. Charlie, thank you for being here as well. So before we get into our annual report to the board from the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, just have the distinct privilege to honor and appreciate the 5 outgoing members of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. They're listed in the agenda, but just for the record, I'll say their name as well. So we have 4 of these 5 folks were with us for 6 years, and that's been since the start of the Measure G building program. And 1 was with us for 5 years. So Sandy Agbiani, who was a previous member of the Board of Education. So once he finishes his time there, he started to join us, and I think he's actually with the Planning Commission this evening. So his work with the community never seems to end. And then Mary Bradley, Rosemary Kirkendall, Charlie Shoemaker, who's on screen here tonight. Hi, Charlie. And Sam Spinella. He was with us for 5 years. So, the oversight committee that the board has appointed to work with us, I just couldn't be more pleased with the group of citizens that we have the privilege to share the information about both the Measure BB parcel tax information and the Measure G building program with. It's the makeup of the committee by statute is really supposed to be a very diverse group. However, the skill sets and just historical knowledge that each of these folks bring to the table makes them, I think, a far more diverse group than even intended. We have a member of our oversight committee who's actually the past mayor of Sunnyvale. We have somebody who is heavily involved in the real estate market, folks who have worked for the city, board members, folks who are with Rotary, active PTA members, just a really fantastic group of people who, besides being fantastic, they also ask very hard questions, but come at it from a supportive perspective of the district. They are, of course, if we weren't doing what we said we were going to be, I'm sure it'd be a much different tenor to the meetings, but just a really good group of people. And I just wanted to acknowledge them and appreciate how supportive they've been of the work that Lori and I present to them with the help from some of our other staff. And then also just being representatives of the community and being people who can stand on that soapbox and let folks out in the neighborhood know whether we are or aren't doing what we said we're going to do. And to cap off the 5 of these members, we have some certificates that we have generated, and board, all of your name is listed on there with Dr. Gallagher's signature, and we're going to be sending those out in the mail to each of those folks, so they have something that they can take with them from their time. So just wanted to make sure they all get a proper thanking and a send off. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to Charlie, who for 6 years running, I think it is, has presented the annual report to the board. And Charlie.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Charlie, before you start, I'm feeling bad that you're not missing a Warriors game.
I was going to comment on that. It was bad luck this year. I'm sorry. Okay, good evening. And for the last time, I'll be presenting the board comments. I'm Charlie Shoemaker, a member of the Bond and Parcel Tax Oversight Committee for Sunnyvale School District. Tonight, I'll be presenting the report to you on Measure BB and G as it relates to the 29-20 fiscal year and what occurred at our meetings this most recent year. The Sunnyvale School District Oversight Committee reviews the expenses from funds associated with the district's facility bond, Measure G of 2013, as well as Measure B, the district parcel tax of 2016, which went into effect in July of 2018. As you know, the Citizen Oversight Committee was formed to ensure that bond funds and parcel tax revenue are used only for the intended purposes, funds are spent in a cost-efficient manner, and that the public is kept informed. The committee is charged to review the district expenses associated with the Proposition 39 facility bond funds and the accountability requirements of both measures. Additionally, the committee, as was pointed out, is required to have a balanced representation from the community. It includes members active in the parent organization of a Sunnyvale school, a member who is part of the local business association, a member who is in the senior citizen organization, and we had a lot of those, and a member from the Taxpayer Association. This year, as Rob pointed out, several members of the committee are reaching the end of their respective terms. We had an opportunity to meet some of the prospective new committee members at the most recent meeting of our committee. And later this evening on your agenda, we understand the district staff will be recommending approval of new members to the Oversight Committee and will be filling the other 2 vacancies prior to the next meeting of the CBOC. We held 4 meetings since our annual report in 2020, all via Zoom. Meetings were held in August and December of 2020, March and June of 2021. We are frequently joined in our meetings by 2 board members of the Education members, Board of Education members, who are part of the Facility and Finance Subcommittee, Michelle, and Isabel, and the district and staff, including Superintendent Gallagher and Communication Coordinator Ali. Ali, sorry, Ali. Yeah, can't read my own writing here. Okay, where were we? The committee enjoyed the firsthand interaction with district staff in the presence of the Board of Education members when they are available. During our meetings, we review expenditures and revenue documents, current status of bond projects, and any and all other relevant ideas or comments. Periodically, following the meeting, we visit school projects to see the progress on active or completed construction projects. The auditor for Measure G bond funds is Edibelli LLP. We met with the auditor, Ms. Joyce Peters, on March the 8th of 2021. And during that meeting, Ms. Peters gave us an overview of the process that her firm uses when performing an audit and informed us that the Oversight Committee and audit had no findings and was in conformity with the general accepted accounting principles. During December of 2020 meeting, we also had a presentation from Makiko Sato from ISCOM Advisors. She shared a significant amount of financial data with us relative to the district bond program, and we were pleased to learn that the Sunnyvale School District has the second lowest tax rate per 100,000 assessed value in Santa Clara County. The total operating revenues for Measure G during the 2019-2020 school year was $733,694. In addition, $28,007,410 being generated from the final bond issue that was connected to Measure G. The total expenditures for the year were $10,715,231. 86% of all total expenditures were audited. The auditor had 0 findings for errors in their audit. The figures pertaining to Measure G are listed in your June 30, 2020 annual financial report and performance audit. The Measure BB parcel tax generated $1,093,024.56 in the 2019-2020 fiscal year. These funds were spent on teacher salaries and benefits for the teachers hired to maintain the additional small class size. In summation, the committee is satisfied that the parcel tax revenue and bond funds have been spent appropriately and in accordance with the requirements set forth under Proposition 39 and the language associated with Measure B parcel tax. The committee point of contact at the district are Rob Smiley and Lori Van Gogh. Our committee would like to thank also Patricia Bradley and Jean McKayan for their help and for the preparations of the reports distributed at our meeting. I would also like to extend our wishes to Patricia Bradley as she retires at the end of this month. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them if I can at this time.
Thank you, Charlie. Are there any members of the public who have any questions or comments on this item? If so, please use the raise hand feature now. All right, not seeing any board. Nancy? You're on mute.
Yes, I wanted to thank the committee for its work, but also acknowledge and celebrate the gift of time and talent that our community members have brought to this committee. We couldn't have done it without you. I know it was a requirement of our bonding process. So you have been an important part of affirming our commitment to the community is there and intact. And I certainly appreciate all the work and would love for you all to stay engaged, even casually, with any activities that the district is doing. So thank you very much. And It'll be hard not seeing you here, Charlie, for the meetings, but I know you'll be able to follow basketball with less guilt.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the new Ellis School begin to form up. And hopefully when that is all put together, the old members will be happy to come in and see what Rob has done with that school. It's time for that school to get renovated. So
Yeah.
Thank you. I have another Zoom meeting here I have to get to. So thank you very much and have a great evening and a great meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Bye-bye.
Bridget, even though Charlie had to leave, do you still want to make a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, when I was a new board member, that was like one of the first committees that I did, and it was just so helpful. You know, I really appreciated the questions that they asked, and just getting to kind of get a preview from Rob about everything that was happening in the district. But it was just, you know, they're really a nice group of people, and it was a pleasure to work with them. So I appreciate that.
Thanks. Any other comments? All right. Thank you, Rob, as well, for leading that group. Rob, did you have any final? You're good. Okay.
No comments, but thank you. Yes, they're a fantastic group.
Yeah, thanks. All right, we are on to 7B, the Sunnyvale School District Communication Report. Aaliyah.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to see if I can share my screen this way. If that presents. How does that look? And you guys can hear me okay too?
Yes.
Yeah,
All
we can
right.
see it. Yeah, it's good.
Perfect. So good evening, board and Sunnyvale community. My name is Aaliyah Wilson, and I am the District Communications Coordinator. I forgive Charlie for that. That's okay. And it has been such a whirlwind these past 2 years that I'm actually going to share 2 years worth of communications highlights. I'll quickly go through 2019, 2020, and share some highlights from this past year. So just an overview, because I know this is the first time I'm reporting to some of you since the last time I reported. Just the overall role for the district level communications, what we oversee, there's kind of these main 6 buckets. So we, of course, oversee internal and external communications. And these past 2 years really have been focused at the higher level, the district level. And so I'm looking forward to getting back into the school sites in the coming years, but of course, just sharing information with our staff and with our community, making sure everyone has the most up-to-date information on things going on in the district, on our programs, and just any issues or events that may be coming up. Of course, oversee marketing to new prospective families and employees, community relations and engagement, managing issues and any crisis communications as they occur, which there was a bit the past 2 years. And then, of course, researching, planning, and implementing and evaluating programs, making sure that everything we do, including communications, is data-driven and but driven by input from our stakeholders, and being responsive. And then, of course, just branding and reputation management. I wanted to just revisit our district mission because, of course, everything we do, we tie back to our mission and to our core values, and that applies to just our communications and our messaging. And I wanted to share the mission statement from NSPRA, which we are a member of. It's the National School Public Relations Association, which has been around for more than 80 years, if you can believe it. So it's a great network of school PR professionals. And their new mission, they just revised this past year, is to communicate strategically, build trust, and foster positive relationships in support of our school communities. And I found that was very much in alignment with what we're doing here in Sunnyvale. So it's great to just be in alignment in general with that, with everything that we do. And so our goals for 2019, 2020, and into this year, really our core goal was highlighted in our LCAP, and it had to do with promoting collaboration, transparency, and communication with our stakeholders, and some key tactics to help key tactics to help us get there evolved around these core areas the past couple of years. Is to really just engage with the community, of course, maintain our website, which is our core public-facing information center, making sure we're inviting that input, the two-way communication with our key stakeholders. Of course, promoting just our communication tools, including our mobile app, which rolled out in 2017, I believe, initially, and communicate positive messages, just sharing all the great work that's going on in our schools. Of course, March 2020 hit, so we had to pivot to really focus just supporting families and staff through the pandemic with communications. So keyword, of course, with everything we did was flexibility. So how did we adapt to continue working towards these goals? These were some of the core areas that we really changed. Obviously, as you guys know, just switching all of our in-person meetings to Zoom while we were sheltering in place. So everything from, our board meetings to coffees with the principal, even to assemblies, switched to Zoom. Our weekly messages to families and staff, we determined that that was just a good touch point for everyone, and staff and families both shared appreciation for those weekly updates. I created a YouTube playlist specifically for the board meetings and community forums. When I first started in 2015, I created a YouTube channel for the school district, and that housed more of our videos that were just about us and about our schools. So I wanted to create a sub channel just dedicated to these meetings so that our families and staff could reference those in an easy manner. And I highlighted here that we currently have 122 subscribers and have had 644 views in the last 28 days. So definitely it's been well received. And then of course had our dedicated coronavirus updates web page that shifted to reopening updates that have had regular visits since March 2020, almost 30,000 visits just to that page. And then, and of course, adopting simultaneous interpretation. Thank you to our interpreters for being here this evening. That's been a great advantage, just taking advantage of that. And so some additional accomplishments that we were able to do this past year, I just wanted to highlight, we were able to launch 7 new videos. So we updated our About Us video, which is a general overview. All 5 of our programs of choice have their own dedicated videos and are on our Programs of Choice webpage and on YouTube. And we were able to have a opening day storybook video internally for our staff, just about the work that we do here and getting excited for the school year. Continued our work around just spreading positive news. So our District Digest quarterly newsletter, we had 43 articles. We had 2 mailers go out. The fall actually talked about how 2019-2020 was our 120th anniversary of being a school district. So it was kind of sad that we didn't get to make a bigger deal out of that. But 2024 is our 125th. So we'll put those on the calendar and come up with some fun ways to really celebrate big there. And the spring mailer was just about everything we did to adapt during the pandemic. And that reaches about 18,000 people, registered voters in our district boundaries. I also try to do a lot of highlighting our programs of choice. Bandwidth was a little limited, so we mainly focused on Lakewood, just building more awareness around their Tech EQ program, and worked with Pam Chang. And we actually created 2 community newsletters that went directly to the Lakewood neighborhood, a print newsletter that reached 5,100 people, just to share what's going on at the school, just to let that community know the great work going on there. So I'll be reaching out to Carly Sturm, the new principal, and see if that's something that she'd like to continue and introduce herself to the community. We were able to engage with the community before the pandemic hit with some of our annual events. We hosted our Programs of Choice Showcase, which is right before registration and just helps answer parents' questions about readiness and registration questions. And the State of the City event, we were able to recognize our outgoing superintendent and our teacher of the year that year. And then just being available at the city sponsors a kindergarten readiness night and being available to answer parent questions there. And then as you guys are aware, we were able to still get awards and recognition for the great work going on at Bishop and Vargas. They both received Hoffman Awards. And the district received a Golden Bell state recognition for our work around social emotional learning, which is fantastic. So this year, fast forward, continuing focus on family engagement and building community, especially since we were stuck in our homes and not necessarily able to connect like we would normally. So definitely will be a focus going forward. Some milestones I wanted to highlight. If you can believe it, district-wide, we had 154,694 meetings district-wide from July 2020 to June 2021, having over 4 million participants and 221 webinars. And I just thought that was astounding, and I wanted to recognize everyone for that work and connecting with people. And, you know, even though we had our challenges, it was also a great way to connect with people and easy for people to connect from home, from their living rooms, from their kitchens, to tune in and connect with us. So in a lot of ways, there were some highlights with engagement in that regard. So kudos and round of applause to everyone for making that happen. And we have actually had strong readership and engagement with our weekly messages. You know, I get reports just on the open rate, which is about 40%, and industry average for the education field, actually specifically with emails and open rates, is about 25%. So we're doing really well there in that regard. The website, I wanted to share some highlights, and it's hard to tell on this picture. I don't know if you could see, but there are areas with yellow or orange, and this is actually like a heat map or a behavior map that shows most clicked areas on our homepage. So you can see directly they want to go to our schools when they're on the district page, but they're also clicking on reopening information, they're clicking on our calendar, registration, and board agendas. And a little bit lower, not clicked as much, but you know, news and events, our grocery distribution list, and the meals services information worked well. And then for the school site level, it's more staff contact information, calendars again, lunch menus, and I think, yeah, the calendar was the main one there. There was a board question in the board packet that asked about timeliness, like regular expectations of when we update information or even the platforms. So I wanted to highlight that we do have quarterly Webmaster meetings. So every school and even every department at the district has a Webmaster. And so we meet quarterly and we go over best practices, updates. Every week we get updates on things like any misspellings or broken links. So we're constantly updating the information in that regard. And then every year I review with our platforms, just performance and if we're satisfied and areas for improvement and things like that. And so total visits just to our homepage this past year was over 136,000 with peaks in August and in March, which makes a lot of sense because that's when a lot of things were changing. Wanted to highlight just the District Digest or quarterly newsletter. We had our 40th issue in June. Our subscribers are climbing. We're just over 12,000 in English and 655 in Spanish, which, yeah, I shared is up from over 10,000 in June 2019 and just over 500 in that same year. And a really good open rate for those stories that highlight anything from, you know, superintendent letters, board news updates, awards, achievements, or just any cool things going on throughout the district. So that was really good. And there was another board question about what makes a story sort of newsworthy. And really, I find just keeping tabs with our stakeholders and asking folks, you know, what's relevant to them, what do they want to know about, what do they want to share, and give kudos to certain people. And the same kind of applies when working with the media. It's really what what's going on in the area, what current issues or hot topics are going on, and how does it apply to us. And sharing that kind of information, I find, are really what makes stories popular and more well read. The district bridge, this year we had one edition that just went out like a week or two ago, and this highlighted everything from the closure to reopening, and everything that got us to the point where we were just this month. So I'll save some hard copies if you didn't already receive them, or they might be coming your way still. Social media, definitely climbing. Happy to report we have just over 1,100 followers on Facebook, which is up a bit from 2018-19, and same on Twitter. I try to post once to 3 times a week, just to keep the community engaged on things that are going on. Thought Exchange is a survey tool that you guys are familiar with. It's slightly different than Panorama, and typically we ask one overarching question, ask stakeholders to give input, and then ask them to rate the thoughts of other participants. That way the most rated issues raised to the top, and we kind of get a pulse of what's going on in different communities depending on the topics. So we had 8 of these this past year, and we used them for principal searches, that we had a few musical chairs going on internally. So just asking stakeholders their input there. If you recall about the Mandarin immersion program, you know, just our overall COVID response, how we were doing to get a feel, and related learning model transition planning, you know, in-person, hybrid, getting a feel for how families felt. And then most recently at our Equity Summit, just asking for direct feedback after that. Press coverage, we had 14 news articles this past year in Silicon Valley Voice, Mercury News, Mountain View Voice, Palo Alto Daily, and Cupertino Today. And topics ranged from our reopening status to our great partnerships that we have that supported us during the pandemic. And of course, highlighting our new superintendent, our brave new superintendent coming aboard during a pandemic, no less. So that was a great highlight. We had a few videos launched this year. We did create a new how to register online video to help families, since that's a newer feature now that they're able to register online, just overviewing the process. Reopening our campuses, guidelines for families and staff. Shout out to our district nurse, Risa, for being the voice of that. And many of our staff had some cameos in that. The Equity Summit, we created a video for that, which we just uploaded to our YouTube channel, just highlighting our equity work. And because Ellis Elementary won a Hoffman Award this past year, the Santa Clara County Office of Education created a video especially for them about their program that they have there about literacy. So what's next? We are updating our goal, and so we'll now focus more on fostering a welcoming and inclusive environment for all of our stakeholders as partners in the education and support of our students. So next steps will really be using communications to support and promote that work, the equity work, and equitable practices throughout the district. Update our communications plan with key messaging that will reflect those efforts, identify barriers to helping families feel included and engaged, and use communication methods to help mitigate those issues. And there was a board question about what we are doing to really be more culturally responsive, to deepen our communication efforts, and that work definitely will be ongoing and is the question that we're asking ourselves right now. But we'll be working with the schools, of course, more directly with our outreach liaisons, which play a critical role in that work, and just finding new and better ways to be communicating with and engaging with our families. Definitely want to target promotion of our lowest enrolled schools. I know we're not the only district dealing with a drop in enrollment, but again, just making sure community is aware of what we have to offer in a variety of ways. course, want to promote Juntos, the fact that it's now a K through 6 and eventually will be a K through 8, starting at CMS this coming year. So that's exciting. And then been working with Sunnyvale Community Services and Rotary to possibly revive or revamp the Our Kids, Our Community fundraiser, which helped raise money for our summer meals program. Luckily, we haven't needed it this past year, thanks to extra funding, but going forward, when that goes away, we'll need it again. So we're trying to be creative and proactive about that and find ways to maybe keep that going. And then lastly, I just would be remiss if I didn't shout out and thank communication support from Lighthouse Blue. We have a contract with for 30 hours a month, which goes fast, as you can imagine, but they help provide support with our videos, scripts, filming and editing, our Q&As, mailer content, and just editing being an extra set of eyes, and it helps with grants and awards, editing as well, and much more support. So thank you to them, and thank you to you. That is it for me, if there were any questions.
Thank you, Aaliyah. If there's any members of the public who have any questions or comments on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any board, is there any questions or comments? Bridget?
You're on mute, Bridget.
Yeah, I have my notes. I was just finding them. Well, first of all, I just can't believe that you're one person, like you're a department of one. Like it's really an insane amount of work, especially this year with tons of communication. And I think we really, I talked to some other people. We were in some Santa Clara County School Boards Association meeting, and there were some other districts that were saying, we're thinking about getting a communications person that would really help us. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine this last year without you. So just thank you for all your hard work. And, I have dreams that there'll be a completely updated calendar and easily interactive web page that will just be like, intuitive and like perfect, but that is not what life is about all the time. And I think it's even though like there are some like areas that are not like a million engineers working on it to make it a mind reading thing, I think that you do a really great job of getting the messages out there, and you do all the important work that needs to get done. So, I just really applaud you. And that was not meant to be. Now it's sounding like a backhanded compliment, and it's not meant to be a criticism. It's meant to be like, because I feel like I always complain about the website, in general, but
it's
just
not
like
perfect.
it's not perfect, right? But you do such a great job, and just all the communication and meetings and things that we've done this year could not have happened without you. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mike, were you going to say something, or should I go Jeff and then you?
Jeff, I'll bring up the rear.
Okay, Jeff, go ahead.
I was just going to second a lot of things that Bridget was saying. I know you had to adapt a lot out of necessity for the large increase of participation, but not only did you adapt, but I think you placed us in a better position going forward to include more people. And I think that really shows your strength. I mean, it's just other people will just adapt just to make do, but I think you've adapted to put us in a better position. So thank you. A lot of great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Team effort for sure. Thank you.
All right. Any other board members? I'll just say ditto. Oh, Nancy, go ahead.
No, I would say you certainly supported us in learning a technology that was new to everyone. and you've helped us effectively manage our meetings behind the scenes. We couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you.
Yes. Also, yeah, joining the general mood. Like, yes, you have done a great job. It has been a very, very challenging year, and a lot of things have been happening. And communication has been key, and you rose above, beyond. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. And I think like most everything, right, we had to pivot this year, and you had tons, but I think we're excited for the stuff. You had started kind of brainstorming ideas and things, and so it'll be exciting. Next year's presentation, you'll still be doing some kind of recovery from what we've been doing, but it will be exciting. Hopefully you can at least start working on some of those things that you had, percolating in your head. So thank you for everything. All right, Mike, finish us off.
Just a couple things that haven't been said. In addition to all that, which is just wonderful, I think we sometimes forget that Aaliyah is the senior member of the superintendent's office. So Jesus and I are both new. So we rely on things that don't have anything to do with her job really specifically. So that's like all the time. So we really appreciate that. And then the other thing, I'm gonna share my screen really quickly here. Just to let you know that Aaliyah is almost done with her accreditation in public relations, which is just fantastic. It's this huge, long course. It's just, she like does it in her extra time. And I don't know when she has extra time because she's the last person to leave the district office pretty regularly. And that's all departments. But she's doing this in her extra time just to further herself and just to support the district. So I can't say thank you enough, Aaliyah.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Aaliyah. All right, we are on to review and discussion. We have one item, 8A, the discussion on the California Voters' Rights Act. And Dr. Gallagher, I think you're going to start us off. You're on mute still.
Yep, I'll just start us off. I just want to remind you that a few months ago, Jeff brought up the idea that in his comments that we should investigate the California Voters' Rights Act, which essentially is establishing trustee areas for elections of board members in Sunnyvale School District. And this is actually a continuation of a discussion that we began. For those of you who were on the board a few years ago, I think maybe just Michelle, Nancy, and Jeff, you'll recall we had a joint study session with Fremont High School District, where we had attorneys from DWK present these concepts to us. Also, as we're all aware, this is the same really concept that the city of Sunnyvale undertook when they changed to, they don't call it trustee areas, but council districts for the city. It's really all under the same law, the California Voter Rights Act. And supporting that law is a significant amount of case law that really directs government bodies to move in this direction. So the question really is a question of timing, as I see it. And this is a matter for the board to decide. However, counsel that I've heard says that this is a relatively good time to do it. And the reason it's a good time to do it is if we were to pursue it at the beginning of the next school year, so beginning in August when we return, that would be ample time, not super ample, but not too tight either, just about right, to have us in good place for the 2022 election cycle. Also, with the recently completed census, it's a pretty good time to pursue this. If you think about the city went through a whole process to establish new council districts. And now with the new census data, they have to do that again. Now it won't be as elaborate probably because they've got existing council districts and some existing data, but this would be at the beginning of a cycle if we were to pursue it now. So it's a relatively good time to do it. Again, the timing at this point is up to the school district. However, if a group came to us, under the law, our hand may be forced and we'd have less flexibility in the timing of it. So with that, to sort of open the discussion, the public discussion on this matter. Oh, and I guess the last thing I would say is the next step would be for the board, this is a non-action item tonight, but the next step would be for the board to pass a resolution which staff could bring to you for your consideration at the meeting of your choice. So with that, I'll open the discussion.
Thanks, Mike. If there's any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board thoughts? Any questions?
Seems pretty straightforward. I mean,
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for continuing to bring this up, and I look forward to the resolution. And I know we're not, I mean, would it be appropriate to come up with a date for the resolution at this time?
I think we could.
So yeah, so I think if the board is interested in moving forward with this, giving that, right, we're not giving decisions, but just direction, like, yes, we'd like to, do a resolution. Yes, we'd like it, such and such time. I think we can give that direction. We're just not making any decisions tonight. And
This
does
is
Jeff
timing
make a
for the
motion
district.
for a date?
It won't be a motion, it's just,
it's just a discussion, right? So if we, I think kind of like what Mike said, right? Like, I think when we talked about it a few years ago, I think we all probably kind of knew we were probably headed there, and it just didn't feel right at that time. And I think right now with the, especially since we just did the census, it does just feel, this feels like, right, a good timing to do it before the next election. So yeah, I think.
so I was thinking if we had a resolution in September, might be a good timing for it. It doesn't distract too much from the opening of school. I think that would probably be the most appropriate time.
So the first meeting in September.
Yeah.
Board, does that seem good with you? And Mike, does that timing seem like that should work?
I would want to check with the attorneys to see, like, that the sooner that we do it, the more time we have. So the advantages I see it of doing it in September is that school is open. So it's we have a small audience tonight. We'd have a bigger audience then, I imagine. But we also need to be wary of the time because there are some proscribed numbers of meetings that we have to have. So I would check with council about that if we could lay out a reasonable schedule.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Nancy, if you have a comment, you're on mute.
Yeah, my preference would be to do a resolution at a time when school is reopened so that more people would have that level of awareness that could enter into dialogue with us. It is the board's decision, but it's important to engage the community in the implications that this change has. I think from an equity perspective, it has a lot of potential to invite more participation from the community and remove some barriers that have been there previously. So I'd like to work with the community as we journey through this process.
All right, any other comments? So it sounds like September would be the time we'd want it to come back if that timing works. Yeah. If anyone has different feelings.
Assuming legal issues maintain that, yeah.
That timing, yeah, as long as like that timing works on the timeline to be ready before the next election cycle. Okay, any other discussion? Are we good? All right, thank you, Mike and your team for I'm looking into that. And it's great that the county, right? I think the county has a lot of that set up to make that process easy too, the county Department of Ed. So that's helpful.
That's right.
All right. Oh, Nancy,
I would like, yeah, I would like to take a point of personal privilege and just announce that I'm going to be departing the meeting. I have it's a late night from Florida, and I have family emergency that I need to address some things in a much earlier time frame than what you all are doing. So thank you so much, and I am excusing myself at this point. Thank you.
Good night, Nancy. All right, we are on to review and action, and the first one is 9A, adoption of the 2021-2024 local control and accountability.
Thank you. Good evening, board. I'm here to bring you the LCAP for 2021 to 2024 for approval and adoption. The one slight amendment in the hard copy and the PDF version that was sent to you is the overall percentage of students proficient in second grade in mathematics. The correct number is 61%, not 82% as was previously stated. And this correct number will be reflected in the document that will be sent to the county office for their approval and also on our website. In addition, all the feedback provided by the board in the course of the public hearing has been incorporated in the revised LCAP. And I thank you for all the suggestions made and bring this to you for your approval.
Thank you, Mala. If there's any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
Okay, I'll move to, where is it? I'm trying to read the thing. I move to approve and adopt the 2021 to 2024 Sunnyvale School District Local Control and Accountability Plan, also known as the LCAP.
I'll second.
Thank you. Board, is there any discussion or comments? You know, we've had several meetings to talk about it, and there are input.
We had one meeting to talk about it. We had one, but I do have a couple comments.
Bridget, we had a study session and then we had the last meeting. Yeah. So do you have a couple comments?
Does the public comment first or no? Did we already do that? We did that. Okay, great. So can I do my two things? Can I go? Okay. So the first one was I saw the notes that about the food thing. I saw that it's addressed elsewhere. So I'm super happy that it's being addressed somewhere, that it's not in the LCAP, but it'll still be covered. So that's really great. The English 3D curriculum comment that was made, it says a line has been added to the LCAP that says we will explore alternative curriculum to support long-term English learners at the middle school level. So I looked at it, and I just personally think that explore is kind of a weak word. It's like, it sounds like two people having coffee. They're going to explore the idea and like talk about it. And it could happen, it could not happen. I would really like it if there was like a mention of the metric that was used or standards, that it was referring to middle school where we know it's not really working, and that we add a date. And like, I would be much more comfortable if it was a little clearer. And I understand it has to be open, it has to like, so I would just like to know, you know, like what the metrics are, and that we will look at it by like the end of the first year, or, you know, because we really do, we are going to do it. So that's my comment about the explore thing. I would love if we could just change that word. Then this, and add a date and maybe a metric. And then my second comment was, you know, when we talked about the equitable facilities, you know, I understand that we're going to be doing some equity work, and we are doing the master plan. We're doing some equity work and walkthroughs, but I just want to put it out there that, you know, some of our older buildings at our older schools, and just how things have gone historically, we may find quickly, like this year or next year, that some of our English learners are housed in some substandard rooms. And so even though we were talking, you know, you're saying, oh, this is just the basics books, we may find that we have our English language learners housed in rooms that don't have operable windows, that have the heat on during hot weather, you know, that are just not suitable. So, and that's where we're sending, you know, and there are all those articles that say it's too hot to learn, and there's articles that talk about, you know, the message we're giving with facilities. So if we're not going to look at it in the LCAP, I just hope that we do that in our equity work. And then my last, I had one more comment. Nope, those are my two comments about it. So I'm really hoping that, like, that language where it's like we're going to explore things for English 3D, which is, I'm not calling that out specifically, it's in your LCAP, that we can, you know, have a little firmer language, because it's for 3 years.
Well, so may I just address the comment about the English 3D curriculum in particular? So we do have a process by which we explore, I know you're thinking the word is a weak one, but when you take action, it really is not weak, because there's going to be an action following the exploration. So it's not just that we will talk about it, but we do have a committee. It's called an English Learner Action Committee, and has representatives from both the middle schools. We have one at the middle school level, and we have one at the elementary level. So let's talk about the middle school, since that's, you know, what is surfacing as a need. So that is the leadership team comprising of teachers that we speak to about needs and, you know, how do we address what our English learners need. So when we say explore, on the very first agenda, when the team meets in the beginning of September, this will be an item on the agenda that says, let's talk about the curriculum, because this hasn't surfaced, Bridget, all in the whole year, and it's been a pandemic year. We've met only online. So I really want to put the onus back on the teachers to have this conversation. I fully appreciate and respect your bringing it to our attention, but we also want the teacher involvement in what are the issues, what need doesn't it meet, how can we support, let's go look at what curriculum is available, what might be a better option, and then have that team take it back to their site, have conversations. And when we do the annual update, so it's not going to be 3 years later, we're going to say, oops, we just explored, we did nothing about it. Absolutely not. Because when we give you an annual update, you will be getting information on what did the exploration lead to. And it could be, it doesn't have to wait till June, it could be as early as January. We'll say, oh, we looked at these curriculum, and I will be bringing it to you for a mid-year approval of supplemental curriculum. But I really would like to request, you know, this mutual respect, that we will include the teachers in this process and give them something to meet the needs of their English learner students, and not just give them curriculum that they find absolutely irrelevant.
Oh, and I want to go through the process, but I would like that, maybe that process should be defined in the LCAP. And so instead of the word explore, that it will go to that year, this year. And, you know, we have language. I mean, we do have language that we will adopt curriculum in these other areas, right? So I actually don't believe, I honestly do not believe that it has not come up in that meeting. I cannot imagine that it has not come up, because the pushback has been, I can't believe the board hasn't given us the curriculum, and we don't, you know, hasn't approved a curriculum. Yeah. So like, I don't think that that's necessarily that the teachers haven't been looking for something. I think it's just, maybe it's not a priority, or it's not in the LCAP. So it's like a chicken and egg thing, right? So let's just like say what the process is and put a date to it to find an answer. Like if you're saying that we're going to get a approved new middle school curriculum sometime in an update this year, that's very different than it could be next year or it could be the year after. I'm asking that this document is updated so that there is a date for whatever the process is to happen. I don't know other curriculums out there. I want the teachers to pick it.
Correct.
You know, that's what I'm asking for is a date that we will have gone through the process and evaluated it by.
What I can say to you, Bridget, if and I'm speaking to the whole board, of course, is after that first English Learner Action Team meeting for the middle school, I can report to the board what the conversation was and where we are in the process. I am hesitant to say we're going to adopt a new curriculum without having a conversation with the teachers about the need. So I hear you, I respect your opinion, and I am asking you to allow us to commit to having that meeting, talking to the teachers and bringing that back to you. Changing a word in the LCAP, you know, I don't know that we can keep making changes because at some point we have to be done with the LCAP and send it forth, you know, onwards to the county office. So if we can trust that explore, you know, has these connotations, I would request that we not make any changes in the language, but we give you an update after the first meeting. So whatever the board meeting subsequent to that first English Learner Action Team meeting is, we will give you an update on where we are with the curriculum. We're not going to postpone something so important, but we just have to go through the conversation with the teachers and the site.
Well, and I would just say that, I'm sorry, it's that 800 number. And now it's ringing on my computer, sorry. So, oh my gosh. So I would just say that, like, if we can change an error in the number for percentages for second graders, if people in this boardroom right now have an issue with something in the LCAP, I think that we should be able to change it. And so, I mean, I am just saying, like, in general, the LCAP looks really good to me, and I think you've done an enormous amount of work. And I am just saying that, like, that I think the metrics and the dates are important if we are going to make it a goal. And so if you are telling me that explore, this general word explore, means that you're coming back to us in October or November with a plan, then, you know, and you're asking me to trust you that that's like the word, I just don't understand why you can't write a date in the LCAP.
Okay, so let's see if there's 3 board members who want to add that in. What if we have to change the word, does that mean we have to reprint everything? Like what entails if we were to make that choice? What does that look like, Mala or Mike?
I guess my question would be then, if I change the word explore and have some other dates, would that be acceptable? Or because today is when we are required to approve and adopt the LCAP as written, and if we're going to make amendments and we're not meeting this county's timeline, because then we're going to be changing it, and then we'll have to bring it back for approval. So
well, I think we can approve with an amendment tonight. It's just what do you guys need to do on your end? So we could approve it tonight with the amendment.
Okay, but I'd have to have the exact language of the amendment.
Yeah.
That we're approving it with, because then that's what's going to go into the LCAP.
Yeah, and then they all have to be printed again. So my personal feeling is Bridget, I don't disagree. Like, I would like a different word, but I also am okay with this conversation, as Mala said, this is what explore means and that she's going to give us updates. So I think changing the document and trying to print them all over again, the word is not important enough to me to change it with this conversation of understanding that we want more than just that feel good explore, which I think is happening. So that's my personal feeling. I think Isabel said she would like it. Did you want to comment, Isabel, or just that?
No, just that, yeah, I think that explore is a little bit weak. Also, when they say the curriculum widely available, yeah, I suppose that's related to that in Spanish for EL newcomer students, the line has in the comments in the response was
Okay,
that they,
let's not go into a new conversation. Let's just finish this one and then we can talk about something else.
yeah, but it's the same. That explore sounds a little bit, it's a 3-year plan, and we're committing to that. And I think more.
So we do
a
update it
stronger statement there
every year. So the wording could get changed next year. But okay, so Bridget and Isabel want the change. Jeff? Sorry to put the pressure on you.
Well, I guess my question is, Bridget, do you have exact wording that you would like to change it to? Because
Bridget,
mean,
if you're talking, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry if I ran over a little bit. On one hand, I think I'm kind of aware of the timeline a little bit too, and I would like this to be done. And it is a working document that we, revisit every year, and we could keep those kind of notes in mind as we go forward, with the wording and, goal setting with timelines. I think those are important details, but, we're halfway through June, and this document needs to be finished.
Well, and I would add even, right, because I agree, right, my new thing is clear expected outcomes metrics. So we could ask MALA to bring that to us in the fall. It doesn't have to be in the LCAP, right? We can still ask for that and say, hey, we'd like to see what's the timeline? What are the dates? How are we going to measure it? We can still ask for all of that and have her presented to us in the fall.
Absolutely. We could have a written plan for exactly how this is going to be rolled out.
And I would just add that Mala is a person of her word. So you heard her commitment to the process that she's going to do. And so, yeah, if we weren't under the gun and if we had exact language right now, then maybe this would be the time. But
okay, I apologize because, this is actually my first time going through the LCAP process, because I think last year was an extension and we weren't redoing the whole thing. And I think as a new board member, new-ish, right? I'm no longer brand new, but it's very, good golly, sorry. It's very frustrating. It's all marketing or something, I don't know. Nobody I know calls me on my phone. But it's very frustrating because, it's you only have a very short window of time in the public arena where you can talk about this stuff, right? And I would just say that next year I am going to want the LCAP, just for the record, I will email Jesus tonight. I'm going to want it hard copy when it's a draft, because it is much, that and the budget are those big documents. And, people were saying to me, wow, you've got a big board packet tonight. I'm yeah, that was an hour and a half or 2 hours on my printer last week. I was I mean, it was just, so it is a lot to go through and to have just a short window to comment on. So I think for me in general, it's not that I don't trust you, it's just that something as important as for this group, I would really like to see a timeline, a target date even, and if we make it, that's the goal. And if we don't make it, we know why we didn't make it, so I just and I have so many years of my older son's IEPs that those measurable goals, I mean, Sunnyvale School District is very good at those measurable goals by certain dates. And so I have a hard time of separating the two because I really want it to be in there, So, okay, I'll take my October, November meeting.
Okay, and you will get it. You'll get it. Absolutely. I can commit to that. And I do want to say to Bridget, to Isabel, to all of you, I really do appreciate because I hear it as a support to our commitment to English learners, because we added this as a goal for a specific reason. Our data shows more than anything else that we do need to focus and we do need to absolutely put a spotlight on their needs. So I really appreciate the support. in that, that's a goal for you as well. And yes, this is one of the pieces. And I know we have a lot of metrics that we've put in. And I hear this is an important one. And we will bring a plan to you in October, which you will be very pleased with. So thank you for that.
I just wanted to, Bridget, you don't have anything to apologize for. You're focusing on the LCAP. And I think you made a comment on the meetings that this is one of the most important things we do here. And I think that it really rang with me. I appreciate that. I'm also very happy to hear that I think I've been kind of struggling trying to read things online a bit. So yeah, the idea of having a hard copy of the LCAP to go through for my, pre-computer aged eyes. So.
And I think just a general side note related to that, I think it would be helpful if maybe everyone sends to Jesus. Like, cause me, I actually don't need any hard copies, right? So I'm happy, like, I think whoever, like those who want them. So I think let's pass along to Jesus. What documents you would like to get as hard copies and when, right? Like we normally do all get the LCAP at the very end, but those who want a hard copy as the draft, like send Jesus a list and he can just know throughout the year if there's other documents that you want hard copies and when you want, right? If you want it as the draft, not just the final copy, I think let him know. And then staff can get those who want hard copies.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to be running your own printer. I mean, we're happy to do that. But I also realize that it's like Saturday morning and it's time to do it. And it's like, I might as well just print it. I understand that too. But to the extent that you know in advance, we're happy to print out anything.
Yeah.
I think both copies are important.
Go ahead, Isabel.
I think both copies are important to review with time. And in one of them, you can find particular keywords and make, notes, copy pasting notes in your own document to organize your ideas. In the other one, you can, read it. I mean, both of them are very important to visualize. And yes, it is, we just have one meeting to comment about it in a few minutes. If we talk too much, people get annoyed because we're going to stay until 10:30. It's like the process might need more than, a 10 minutes comment session. I don't know. I think because it is the most important document and is like, if it's not there, it might not be, a lot of our ideas might be just gotten lost. We don't have it in the priorities. And, it's like we had like, do we take a 5-minute break now? Well, no, let's take it after the LCAP. Like that's supposed to be the most important thing in the year. And we're going to have it in like, let's take the break in 15 minutes because, we're just going to talk about the LCAP right now. And then we can break. It's like, it's very important. I think we should, break it down somehow or talk more than 10 minutes in one meeting before this one during next year. And because a lot of time during the year is like, oh no, we are not talking about that because that's on the LCAP. Or no, that's not the time to talk about it. It's not that important. And, with all the restrictions and we cannot talk among ourselves. And right now, apparently, I'm also wasting a little bit more of time talking about this. But we should have more meetings referring to this because it's like the Carta Magna of what we do pretty much.
And thank you, Mala, for all your work on the LCAP.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, is there any other comments before we vote? No? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. And with that, the motion passes. And yes, echo what Jess said. Thank you so much, Mala, and not just you, as a huge team, and it is a huge undertaking. And I know there's very specific things you have to do to follow the, not just our important plans, but then also the rules. So thank you so much for all the work you and everyone put a part of it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the board's validation of this really important document. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are on to 9B, the adoption of the 2021-2022 budget.
Good evening, everyone. Since our meeting on June 3rd, there was no changes to the budget, so I'm here tonight to ask for your approval for the budget as it was presented on June 3rd.
Thank you, Lori. If there's any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
I move to adopt the 2021-2022 budget.
Second.
Board, is there any questions or comments?
So I just want to say it is obviously a ton of work. So thank you, Lori, for sure. And Michelle and I briefly talked about, Michelle, you were interested in getting a optional, like you were saying, sit down one-on-one with Lori, but I was thinking maybe like an optional budget workshop or study session where Lori could walk us through, like, you know, the what's 1 year, what's, you know, like just the different, just an overview or refresher of the budget in general. Or is that what you were saying, Michelle, like to really go through it to understand it better? Or
no, I just had a few specific questions that would probably be most answered. So I'm not, what is it that you're wanting?
Well, I was just thinking like the differences between like the 1 year money, you know, one time only money, and like how that's all tracked and stuff. And I know it's in the budget, but just to kind of go over that. Maybe I should just make a meeting. I don't know if Isabel or anyone else wanted it. I thought that's what you were asking for. So I was like, oh, I want to go to that meeting too.
Well, I mean, I think probably not give our study session. So maybe just anyone who's interested in learning more, right? Like shoot an email to Jesus and Mike. And then, I mean, if it's all 5, then we could do a study session. But then I would say if it's just 1 or 2, or if there's like 3, right, we can maybe, you know, 2 different meetings or something.
But it's not really, well, so that was like my question, right? So like I could just, it's just about how things are working. So, okay, I'll just send my questions into Jesus and Mike, and then you guys can decide how to handle it. But I don't have any questions about the budget. I want to adopt the budget. It's,
I think any kind of workshop sessions you get for the budget, I mean, I think I have some experience with it, but I always feel like I can benefit more from any information.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember when I was taking my admin credentialing class, there was a class on budget. It was the only class I remember members of my classmates actually crying before the class starts because they're so stressful. I'm still in awe of people who work with the budget. I swear, it seems like you're dealing with fictional numbers until it actually becomes concrete.
So let's add it onto our running list, right? We can't do everything this next year, but we can put it on. And then I think right in August, we'll kind of look at that list and say, hey, what do we want to put into our meetings this year? So Jesus, I assume you're listening. If you could plug that into that, we need to have a good name, but whatever that list is, that's kind of our ongoing things we might want to look at or dive into list. If you could add it to that, that would be great. Okay, any other questions or comments? I'll just highlight just real fast. I put it in, I think in my like questions, but just, we've said it before, right? Like I know we need to be careful with the one-time funding. I know things are tricky, but just reiterating, right? Like this is a chance to like try new things. And I know that, right, if you try new things and then you take them away, some people might get upset and say, hey, you took that away. And I personally am willing to like take that. I mean, I can't do it on my own, but like as a board member, I'm willing to kind of take that. Like if people get upset that we took something away and say, hey, we had a year where we had extra money, we tried all these different things, we could only keep some. I'm kind of willing to like take that, if other board members are, right, to really allow us to be creative this year, knowing that we can't, right, we can't keep all the great things ongoing because there's not enough money, right? There just isn't. And maybe if people get upset that we have to cut some things next year, maybe it'll get people to send letters to the legislature to give more money to education, right? So in my mind, even if people are upset, that's not necessarily a bad thing if we get more money for education across the state. So anyways, that was just the thought I kind of wanted to throw out, not directly related to you, Lori, but just everything in general related to budget.
So you're saying instead of like being hesitant to spend the money because you might not be able to keep it, to go ahead and spend the money because that's what it's there for. It's for this special year.
Yeah, and that idea, like us as a board, if we're willing, right? We take it for the team, right? Like we couldn't keep it all, get mad at us, and then go tell the legislature to give us more money. Okay, are we ready to vote? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. Thank you so much, Lori and team. Same as what I said, Mal, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that long budget and following all the stuff you need to. So we appreciate your expertise on that. All right, we are on to C, approval of the Mended resolution R2122, local agreement for child development services. And I believe that's Linda. Or somebody else.
I will take it since Tasha and Linda are not here. So this amendment must be adopted before Sunnyvale School District can enter into the agreement with the CDE Childcare and Development Services for 21-22. The rate is not to exceed $53.74 per child per day of full-time enrollment and a maximum reimbursement of $771,384.
Thanks, Mike. If there's any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. I'm not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
I move to approve the amended resolution R2122 local agreement for child development services.
I second.
Board, is there any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. We are on to D, approval of resolution number R2123 in the matter of the education protection account. Lori.
Thank you very much. So this is the resolution that we do annually. It's based on a sales tax initiative from 2012 that provides the district with $1.2 million of extra funding for teachers' salary and benefits to help maintain our small class sizes.
Thank you, Lori. If there's any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
Okay.
I move. Go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead, Bridget. I lost my place here.
Okay. I move that we approve resolution R2123 in the matter of authorizing the receipt and spending of funds from the education protection account for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. Thank you, Lori. We are on to E, approval of resolution R21-24 in the matter of authorizing inter-fund loans for cash flow purposes. Lori.
Thank you. So this is another annual thing that we do. We don't generally receive our first large property tax payment till early December. So what this allows me to do is transfer funds in between dollars in between funds to maintain cash flow so that we don't have a negative cash balance.
If there's any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution 2124 in the matter authorizing interfund loans for cash flow purposes.
I second.
All right, board, any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. We are now on to F, approval of the tentative agreement between the Sunnyvale School District and Sunnyvale Education Association, public disclosure of the financial input in accordance with AB 1200. Jeremy.
Good evening, board. Yes, I bring this item is the first of 3 items tonight regarding agreements with our employee and associations and management. So the first one this evening is the tentative agreement between the Sunnyvale School District and the Sunnyvale Education Association regarding our settlement for this for the 21-22 school year regarding compensation. If you recall, this process began actually back in February with SCA. And just wanted to remind the board as well as the attendees that we engaged in a process of interest-based bargaining with the shared interest of recognizing hard work and dedication of our employees, maintaining our fiscal solvency, and maintaining our competitive position and recruiting and retaining highly qualified staff. So relating to the fiscal solvency, in addition to the agreement, you will find the AB 1200 report, which is the county certification that we can, quote, afford this agreement for the next 3 years in our budget. And I will conclude my introductions with just a huge thank you to the negotiation teams on SCA. It was a year of years, and we were meeting weekly and then had to carve out time for this in addition to implementing our returning in-person plan. And then I would be remiss to not thank Lori Van Gogh and her fiscal team, because once we settled, not to be facetious, that was, quote, the easy part, and then the heavy lift began to get all of the documentation and logistics in place to make this happen within the fiscal year that we are in. So I recommend approval of the tentative agreement between Sunnyvale School District and SEA.
Thank you, Jeremy. If there's any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the tentative agreement between the Sunnyvale School District and the Sunnyvale Education Association.
I second.
Board, any discussion or comments? Thank you to all the people, right? Well, thank you to everyone who works in our district, right? But then thank you to the teams who negotiated and worked together to figure this out. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. We are on to G, approval of the tentative agreement between the Sunnyvale School District and California School Employees Association and the public disclosure of the financial input in accordance with AB 1200.
Yes, this is the agreement between the district and our CSEA chapter 205 with our classified employee unit. Very similar, just wanted to acknowledge a lot of the hard work. This process began in April. Great conversations along the way, a great appreciation to the CSEA negotiation teams along with, again, the same shout out to Lori Van Gogh and the Business Service Department. In addition to that, we had the same interests and great discussions over Zoom during this time, and look forward to approval of this agreement along with the AB 1200 report. So I recommend approval of the agreement between Sunnyvale School District and the California School Employee Association, Chapter 205.
Thank you, Jeremy. If there's any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the tentative agreement between the Sunnyvale School District and the California School Employees Association.
I second.
Board, any questions or comments? Echo the same thing I said before. Thank you to everybody. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. We are on to H, approval of the Sunnyvale Certificated and Classified Association for Management Personnel and Sunnyvale School District revisions of Memorandum of Understanding, public disclosure of the financial input in accordance with AB 1200.
Yes, so the third in the series is the MOU agreement with the district and the management or association. This has a little bit of a different format. It is an MOU and an association and not an employee organization as the first two were. So before you is the updated draft for the 21-22 school year with some minor changes, as well as the revised salary schedule reflecting the same agreement that was provided and made with SCA and CSEA. So before you, I recommend approval of the agreement, the MOU agreement between the district and SCAMP.
Thank you. If there's any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the revisions of the MOU between the Sunnyvale Certificated and Classified Association for Management Personnel and Sunnyvale School District.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments?
I'm just so glad our district's in a position where we can do this. I mean, it's really positive. So yay. And I'm grateful for everybody who's sticking around and, you know, here and all the work you guys did. So thanks.
Thank you, Bridget. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. Thank you again, Jeremy and everybody. We appreciate the collaboration and all the hard work. Thank you. All right, we are now on to item 10, the consent agenda items as listed. If there's any members of the public who wish to speak on any of the consent agenda items, please use the raise hand feature now. And not seeing any. Board, is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Board, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. We are now on to future meetings, which is Thursday, August 12th, 2021 at 7 p.m. And that will probably be in person. More details to come later. Also, Mike, should I make note of for board members, the management retreat date? I know more details will come later, but that's July 30th, correct?
Yes, July 30th. It's going to be at the Hilton on Matilda. And so, yeah, more details to come. We're putting together an exciting agenda for that. It's the all management retreat.
Thank you. And unless there's anything else, I adjourn this meeting at 8:46. Enjoy the summer. This will be a much more relaxing summer than last summer. And hopefully, I know lots of staff is still working through the summer, but hopefully you'll be able to take time to get away, even if you're not getting away, like take time at your house to read a book or hang out with your family. This is a time, right? Like we're getting ready to do all this really important work, right? So we need to renew ourselves and get us all energized and recovered the best we can as we move forward. So thank you. I'm getting emotional. Sorry. Thank you, everybody, for this. Right? It does kind of feel like it's not a closure, but it is a little bit, right? Of this super crazy year. Like thinking back the same exact time period, right? Last year. Oh man. So thank you. Aaliyah's kind of her presentation kind of helped, I think, remind me of a lot of that stuff because, right, a lot of it did involve communication. So thank you to all the staff right? Our families, right? I mean, everybody, right? I don't want to go on forever, but everybody, thank you for this year. And I think just ending off with what's above us, right? The learning together, arriving as one, right? We still have that work, but we have been working towards that. We are learning together. We're doing our best to bring everybody across that bridge. So thank you, everybody. Did I already end the meeting officially? Okay. Sorry to make it stay a little bit longer.
I feel like I should be handing an award after that ending there.
We did get an award. We got Business of the Year.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.